I'm going to call this episode, or give this episode a heading or a subheading of CHINAIR. Now, I'm somebody who's currently in the UK. I go to Asia a lot. I spend quite a few months of the year, often, in Asia. Chiang Mai, Thailand, Sewol, South Korea, other places in South Korea, other places in Thailand, but mostly Chiang Mai, between Chiang Mai and Thailand. Now, I'm sorry if there's a bit of wind here. I'm in Bristol. It's one of the hottest days of the year, or at least the last two have been stupidly hot. And it's a few degrees lower today, but it's still really hot. But Bristol has winds and, it has an air, but it's still really hot. I'm just saying that because I'm walking down a hill, beautiful area near Troopers Hill. Bristol, I don't know it too well. I do, I know it quite well because of last year, but I'm getting to know it more and more. But this area I'm staying in right now is... I don't know, it's got a really nice place that you can walk up to and look over the whole city. And as I say, Bristol is very much like that, up and downy, but amazing, really. So, CHINAIR. Why CHINAIR? Well, China. I've been to China. I've been to Shanghai probably about 16 years ago or something like that. I've been to other countries in Asia, been to other places in the world. I've been to Europe, but Asia's where I do my film projects is based in Asia. And I always go for, let's say, the underdog, but not the underdog that you might think, in the way that you might think. I mean the victim, or the one that people kind of look down on. And China is one of them. And whether I'm in Thailand, certain people, certain demographics, certain minds think in the way that, they put China down, and it's all from their little UK, their USA, their Australian, their... sure, there are some Thai people, some Korean people that might not like the idea of the Chinese, and Indians get the bad rap as well. But there is a reason I'm mentioning this right now, is because there's a war going on. Well, as I record this, we're coming to the end of June. We're in the summer. Let's just say summer 2026, in case I don't upload this for a while. But there's problems going on caused by a certain person in the USA, and it affected my trip coming to the UK, going to Korea, because I went to Korea because my film was in a festival, my video art was in an exhibition. I had lots of stuff going on in Korea, which is great, but it meant that I was thinking of using like Emirates or one of the other ones that goes through the UEA, and I had a really good cheap flight with Virgin. I cancelled it because there's other opportunity that came up, and I've never had a thing against China, and it's people have always had this, even family members that were older than me and grew up would always sort of say, "Oh, made in China, what a surprise." And look, it's a giant country. Of course, it's very different to where we live in England, but if you go to it, I mean, I've grown up with. I've just been to the fish and chip shop, I should say, but some of those fish and chip shop or Chinese food takeaway places are also chip shops. It's been in my life for as long as I could remember. The same with Indian restaurants. I mean, that was probably a bit later on in my life, but something as I'm trying to speak about this before I get to my destination, which is in a few minutes. But something occurred to me that there's all these great flights going from the UK to wherever, instead of going through UEA, they go through, let's say, Shanghai or Beijing, and they go, you know, one stop and then you're in Thailand, one stop and then you're in wherever, and they're really cheap prices. And I've thought about it for a while. They've got there's 2 or 3 well-known China airlines that don't get used much by Westerners, or at least perhaps those really frugal ones have been using them for a while, I don't know. But wouldn't it be funny if now, because of what's happened, I mean, we all hope things get back to normal, whatever normal is, but if everyone was suddenly using Chinese airlines? Because I've got to a point where I'm not walking here and I'm actually, there's no air, there's no wind I'm walking through. And, you know, my friend was going to Korea and he chose Air China to go because, you know, I mean, I'm sure he could. I don't know if his choice was going to be through the UAE. Direct is always more expensive, and he chose that. And I've looked at these, and people always certain people slate these airlines online, saying they're not very good and stuff. But when you look at the safety of them, which is key, the safety of them, they're like in the top. What is it? What do they call them? They get sort of 7 out of 7 this rating. They get 7-star rating for safety. This is not about the quality of other stuff on the flight. But I've seen a handful of videos on YouTube that really rate them pretty well. And it might be when I return to Asia, and especially Chiang Mai. You see, the way I think about it is to get to Chiang Mai, these days there's no direct flight. So I'd have to go through Bangkok, or I'd have to go through another country, for example, Hanoi, which I love that city of Vietnam, the country of Vietnam, and the city of Hanoi especially, or China. So I can't really go direct to Chiang Mai. So I'm thinking now maybe I'll be flying on the China Airways. But this is kind of this is not an underdog story, but it's more about, what if this situation in the Middle East or the UAE and America, all these connected things, and Israel and Palestine, it's all interconnected some way. If suddenly there was no Strait of Hormuz and there's no other way that people had to save money, they would use China Airlines. And I would be so happy, just from the perspective of, I don't know, this is what I always feel ever since I was younger, and I used to see someone in a race, because my dad used to race motorbikes, but when I used to see people in a Formula 1 race or a bike race and they were going to get lapped, they were at the back, they were going to get lapped, I always felt like they are not the victim, but they are the, they are the ones that should be doing better. And that's the way I feel like it. I'm not saying China's not this tiny little place. It's got its, you see, from my point of view is, if you get down to nitty gritty with China and the USA, China do things differently. I'm not saying they're definitely not, they're no saint. I mean, what country is? Which country is really that great and that innocent? But when it comes to being not like the USA, therefore, their way of dealing with things is bombing places or using extreme tactics, bullying, and protect America at whatever cost. And I've always been on the side of China when it comes to that. Now, as I say, I'm not saying it's a perfect place. I mean, God, the UK is not a perfect place. But what if it's one of those scenarios? It's like when the pandemic happened and certain things. I thought, what if this? What if this? What if those dirty men that go to Thailand all the time? And that, look, I'm trying not to be judgmental here. We all, we know there's stories of people that go to certain countries and take advantage of certain things, certain bargains that come in the shape of sex. And I remember seeing the pandemic and thinking, oh, what if all that stopped? And I kind of started writing this story for it. But it's a bigger picture than that. And so, I thought, what if I get this flight? What is my friend, he's he's probably not what I would say really into China stuff, Chinese things. Oh, yeah, I think it's just against the somewhat, the ruling party, I mean, forget the word communism. I hate bringing that down to defining a country with the word communism or capitalism. I'm just taking my bag off. But to bring this to an end, it just got me thinking, what if instead of all these UEA, Emirates, Etihad, all those other flights that go through the UAE and through that area, suddenly China was reaping the benefits with the aviation, and they have very good safety records. Lots of them are also, they fly domestically because it's a huge country, but they also, of course, they fly internationally. Okay, that's it. I'm going to leave it at that, and it's just my 2 cents worth. I thought it was very apt, seeing as I'm in the UK, be thinking of getting home. I've been travelling by plane only a few weeks ago, really, and it's just something that I'm thinking of my options when I go back, when this whole situation is sorted out or not. I have to have a backup plan. Okay, thanks for listening. See ya.